Good evening, and thank you for joining us for the Mad River Valley Chamber of Commerce's latest community conversation. We're here to have a little preseason get-together with Matt Lillard from Mad River Glen and John Hammond from Sugarbush to talk about the upcoming ski season. And really glad that everyone's here. Obviously, the ski industry is really important to us here in the Valley, and it's a good opportunity for folks to ask questions and learn a little bit about what's going to be happening up at the mountains this year. We also have Sean Cramer from the 1824 House, who's here just to represent the lodging community if anyone has any questions about lodging and how that's going to be going this year. John, we'll start off with you. John Hammond, the president of Sugarbush, and tell us a little bit about what's going on and what we can expect this year.
Thanks, Eric. We're excited to share sort of what's going on and really get back to winter this year. And, eventually it will actually cool down and we'll be able to start making snow again. And, right now our plan is to open next weekend. Forecast is a little dicey, but, we only need a couple, like 36 hours or so to be able to get open. So that'll be the immediate plan. So we're really excited about that. And still, again, planning on Valley House and Gatehouse side. Really is same as what we've done the last couple of years, spread the crowds out. On mountain experience, I think what we're looking at for this coming winter is really not a lot of change from what you would expect in a normal year. There's really no outside restrictions going on. So we're back to normal business out there, having fun, camaraderie, and adventure. So that's the plan. We will see a little bit of difference inside versus a normal year. And that is basically that we're going to ask people to wear their mask when they're inside and moving around, but if they're seated, that's okay for them to take their mask off. So in addition, we did require vaccinations for all of our employees. And then we'll be also doing some weekly testing as well, just sort of as quality control and making sure things are going on, because that's what people want to talk about for skiers. So.
All right, thanks, John, appreciate it. Matt Lillard, General Manager at Mad River Glen, down the road. What's going on up at the hill?
Certainly. Thanks, Eric, and thanks, John, for leading it off. As John said, it's certainly a different year than it was last year. We have no mandates, no guidance, no emergency orders. So unlike last year, a lot of it is kind of up to us and our staff and working with our skiers and what they're going to be comfortable with this year. So much like John said, when you're outside at Mad River, it's going to feel like a normal year. We'll load our single chair and our double chairs in a normal fashion. We won't require any masks outside. Lift lines will be back to normal. Obviously, people will still be plus or minus 6 feet apart with the ski distance, but otherwise, when you're out there skiing on the mountain, we're looking forward to back to normalcy and really excited to get people back up there. Once again, just like at Sugarbush, it'll be a little bit different inside. We will be requiring masks of anybody who is not actively eating or drinking. That being said, the base box and the other inside buildings will be fully open, so people will be able to change into their boots, bring their boot bags in like they do at Mad River, talk amongst themselves with masks on, and do all the things that they would normally do. And then head outside to go skiing. We'll still encourage people not to hang out for too long. I don't think generally people are going to. I think a lot of our skiers here in the Valley are still certainly being COVID cautious and making the right decisions, but they'll be able to do that. When they sit down to eat or drink, they'll be able to take those masks off and enjoy their time doing that. But our cafeteria will be open. The pub will be open. That'll be in a hosted seating format. So we'll have all of our tables and bar stools there. And when you see our host or hostess, you can get a seat, you'll be able to sit down and enjoy your drink or your meal without a mask. But what we won't be doing is having people, 2 or 3 deep at the bar, leaning over each other's shoulders and getting too tight in there. If the pub is full and people want to drink or something from the pub, we've got our new pub window that was part of our capital project last summer that we'll be able to fully debut this year. It was a huge benefit to us last year, and we're looking forward to using it again this year. Otherwise, from a COVID standpoint, we're not offering lunch for our kids' ski school programs. We just felt that normally in a normal year, we will have lots of kids eating lunch in a relatively small space. That space got bigger with our construction projects, but it would still be very, very tight. So we are not offering that. But otherwise it's going to feel very normal. Also in our ski shops and our rental shops, we'll be requiring masks. In our rental shop, we will be limiting the number of people that can be in there at one time. It's a tight space already. And we just want to make sure that people have the time that they need to put their, to get sized in their boots and their skis before moving on. So there'll be signage indicating that. But outside of that, all the other facilities will be open, and looking forward to a great year. I think we're all seeing a lot of demand for people to come up to Vermont and get skiing, and we just got to get some cold weather here, and we'll both start making snow. John and the Sugarbush team will certainly make it faster and in greater quantities than we will. But we're looking forward to our opening day on December 11th, which will be on Lift 4 or the bigger mountain, if we can pull it off.
Awesome. Thanks, Wes. So are they going to be trucking the snow over to Mad River?
No. So, we've once again, we've made a little bit of extension on our bunny line, and we've got 2 new snow guns coming this year, stick snow guns. So no longer are we going to try, we went a different direction than the fan snow gun. And so we've got 2 SMIs coming to try out, which is going to be a new development for Mad River, and hopefully somewhere we can head to in the future, which is going to be really cool. And we've got a new to us snowcat.
And we're still only going, the new snowcat's pretty fancy.
Yeah.
And so we're still only doing 1 person on the single chair as well.
1 person on the single chair, yeah. And then double chairs, like I said, if there is somebody out there that really doesn't want to ride with anybody else, and it's a 1 or 2 off, we'll allow that within reason. But we certainly won't be promoting that.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. I appreciate you giving us a little rundown. I wasn't going to plan on doing this, but let's go with Sean Cramer from the 1824 House, just to put him on the spot. Sean represents the lodging community here at in the Mad River Valley, and we'd really like to hear from him, like how the lodging is looking for the season from that sector. Sean?
All right. Thanks, Eric, for putting me on the spot, but that's okay. So the lodging sector, we still meet every week, which is really great, and talk about what's coming up this winter and what we're thinking, expecting, and obviously hearing John and Matt talk. I know a lot of the people are on this call as well, and hearing what they're expecting so that we can actually let our guests know what to expect, because that's obviously the toughest part. But within the lodging sector, we actually still have a number of places that are requiring vaccines, requiring the cards to be able to stay at some particular lodging facilities. Masking is still being enforced at some others. So everyone, of course, has their own rules. But I do think anyone who's going to end up watching this, that please check with your lodging facility before showing up, and make sure you know what they're looking for. Everyone's trying to be very open and communicate it to their guests, but I think it's really important that everyone really, check in before showing up, and then realizing they're either requiring it or not, and you thought the other way around. I think the lodging community, we're still feeling a little more insecure than the resorts, simply because we don't have the outdoor aspect going on. Everything's pretty much inside our facilities. So I think we are a little, tighter, but doing similar, that we're requiring masks inside, a lot of us, and things like that. So, but I do think that it's just best that everyone kind of check in with your own lodging facility when coming up.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sean. I appreciate that. We got a lot of questions in advance, and I had some of my own as well. If any of the folks that are watching have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and we'll try to get to them as much as we can. I really don't want this to be dominated by the whole COVID thing, and obviously there's a lot of talk about that, and we did get a couple of questions. I just want to get those kind of off the plate for John and for Matt. One of the questions I got was, there any plans for testing of guests or staff? I know that there's mask mandate over 100 employees for both places, so that it's a requirement nationally anyway. But is there any plan for testing at all? John, can I start with you?
Yes. So we have contracted with a company to do sort of handle all the back of house side for our COVID policy, which will basically track all our vaccinated employees and register their cards and sort of do, so there's some AI that goes on with that. And then if we so right now we will not offer exceptions in ski school, rental shop, employee housing, ski patrol. I think that's it. But some of the other employees, you know, if there was they can apply for a waiver from being vaccinated. Everyone that's on that waiver would need to be tested twice a week. We also have purchased enough tests to also do tests for our vaccinated staff on a, you know, not on a regular basis, but having some available. So we will be doing that. We feel pretty good about the number of people. I think we have so far, we're like 99% employees have said they're vaccinated. So, you know, we'll be rolling that out. Our vaccination policy starts November 15th. So next week. So that's the deadline to submit all of your information. So that's what we're doing. We're also trying to work to get a actually PCR testing clinic set up at the Sugarbush Inn. So you can use the drive around and be able to do that and actually have a Valley location. Our HR team has been trying to get that set up with the state because, you know, right now the closest spot is Waterbury. And if not Waterbury, you're really going to Berlin. So if we can get that in the Valley, we feel that that'd be a good community service piece to it. And then also provide some peace of mind for our staff as well.
That's great, John. Hopefully that'll work out. Matt, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'd say first, John, kudos to you guys and your team if you pull that off. I think that'd be fantastic because, yeah, on Mad River's front, we also have a vaccine mandate for our staff. And we are, you know, currently at 100% vaccinated, and you know, the only exemptions will be for you know, ADA reasons or firmly held religious beliefs. So we are sticking to our guns on that one. From a testing standpoint, we don't have any dedicated policies around that. That being said, there are certain people within Mad River that pretty much throughout this thing have been getting tested regularly. Last winter was weekly, you know, not so much this summer, but getting back into it. People like our food and beverage, some of our food and beverage staff, myself. I also consider my kids going through the school testing on Mondays is kind of a canary in the coal mine for a lot of us too. So it'll be a part of what we do, but there's no set policy on it. Other than that, you know, certainly, you know, we're not looking at requiring any testing or vaccinations of our guests.
Great.
So Eric, also, sorry, in addition to sort of the testing and sort of the requirement, we're also extending the 80 hours of leave for COVID that is not required anymore, but we are extending that so that we can sort of encourage people if they're not feeling well to not come to work. So.
Good idea.
Same in Mad River. Yeah. Same type of plan in Mad River.
No, that's great. That's great to hear. And it's nice to see that you guys are really kind of, the testing thing sounds like a really, really great thing for the community because, you know, like I said, going up to Waterbury is tough, which kind of begs the question. I was curious, you know, one of the questions we got was about Canadian visitors. And Canadians are now allowed to come down, but there is a test requirement coming back. So that might be helpful for them going back, which will be nice. I assume that they'll be able to use that, right, John?
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't clarify that. The testing facility, if we can get it set up, would be for the public, for anyone.
Yeah.
So it would just be a public facility where, you know, local family or a visiting family or person could go up and get tested.
Yeah, that's great. You know, one of the questions people had that someone had was, you know, the absence of Canadian visitors last year, and curious, you know, what the impact to the ski areas was in regard to that. I mean, we're not JP here, and we don't get the traffic that they do. But was there an impact, and did you feel it?
Not nearly in comparison to the impact of the travel restrictions on the rest of the Northeast.
Right.
So I think it would be hard to quantify in Mad River anyway, the lack of Canadians compared to the lack of everybody else who was following the rules.
Yeah. Similarly, you know, we just had people that didn't show up because they couldn't get here. And so obviously the Canadians were even more restricted. So, you know, there's definitely people that we missed not being able to see them last year. And we're excited for them to come down this year.
Yes, hopefully we do miss our friends from up north
Eric,
sure.
Eric, I'll just touch on this as well, though. I can tell you the lodging community definitely showed that they were missing the Canadians last year. And that's why you see a lot of posts on social media right now from pretty much all the lodging facilities saying, once the restrictions were lifted, hey, we welcome Canadians. Welcome back. Come down and see us. So it'll be a big push. Yeah.
So good. Let's try to not to talk so much more about the COVID thing. We have some other questions about, God forbid, skiing. First question I had was for you, Matt. Someone wanted to know if you could speak to the impact of the limited season passes and how that all went, and what your feelings were on that.
Yeah. So a couple things, a lot of things came out of the COVID operating year, and one of them was how much better the Mad River ski experience can be when we're not overrun, and when we don't have our really, really big days when you can't park anywhere remotely close, up or down 17, when the base box is full to the gills and the 45-minute lift lines at the single. So we took that knowledge and created a limited pass and ticket skiing model for this year and hopefully going forward. So this is our first year from it. We limited our pass sales to roughly 10% of last year, which was a record year for us. And quite frankly, I wasn't sure we were going to get there, and then it became pretty apparent pretty quick that we were going to hit it, quicker than I thought. So I think the response has been overwhelming, that people are ready to come back, that they want to be outside recreating and skiing this winter. And our season pass sales sold out, and we've had by far the biggest season pass sale we've ever had. And we did it without dropping our price. So there are a couple ski areas in Vermont, as well as around the country, that dropped their prices roughly 20%, and they're seeing I think I heard a 67% increase in quantity. And we just feel that model is not good for a ski experience. It's definitely not good for Mad River. I don't think it's good for pretty much anywhere. And I think we're going to see the benefits of that in the Valley. So that combined with our pass sales, we still have pass sales are available to shareholders, but otherwise, and teens and children. And then outside of that, they are sold out at this point. And then we'll be doing the same with ticket sales. So we're taking a look now that we have the numbers of pass holders in, and looking at seeing what our comfortable capacity is going to be. And really, we're not trying to be a private club. We're not trying to have 10-minute lift lines on a holiday Saturday. We can't. We need to still run a business and be able to invest in the ski area every year. So it's really just to limit those really big days. And so otherwise, I don't expect a lot of sellouts.
That being said, Matt, has the season pass limit and the ability for shareholders to buy season passes impacted the limit? Impacted share sales?
Yes, absolutely. So we've welcomed almost 150, 200 shareholders over the past year and a half, which I know you, Eric, know is a significant number for the cooperative. We've not, I don't think the cooperative seen those types of numbers since the founding of it. Yeah, a lot of people are buying into it and ready to get out there and ski with us.
Yeah, my recollection is like 30 or 40 a year on average. Was
correct.
Kind of typical year. Matt mentioned some of the positive operational changes that resulted from the whole pandemic last year and things that happened. I was curious, John, were there any other positive operational changes that came about that you think are going to be sticking around for a long time, or maybe this year and going forward? And you could speak to that a little bit.
Sure. There are a lot of things that we did differently last year that we looked at pretty heavily this summer and decided what we were going to keep and what we weren't. One of the things we really enjoyed was the way we set up the corral system, meaning really we sort of maximized the real estate. It required more labor, but it was a better experience for the customer. So we won't be doing the ghost lanes in between the lineups, but we will be setting up very similar configurations, like especially at Heaven's Gate, where I can't believe we didn't do that before. So that's exciting, but we're also going to continue being a cashless resort. We saw that there was great benefit, ease of transaction for the customer. Also, it really took away a lot of the risk and some of the liability that we faced with handling cash. So we're excited about that. And There was a whole bunch of stuff, but that's sort of what top of mind, what we liked, and sort of this year you will be able to boot up and in the base lodge. We are going to continue to not have bags in the main level areas at Mount Ellen and at Lincoln Peak. So we will have bag storage in the basement or the lowest level. And, that was a huge thing that we liked from COVID, not having sort of bags everywhere. And, I took a little bit of a ribbing this morning at the Rotary Club from some of the people, but, I know that personally I like that a lot better than tripping over bags. So.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And what's going on with the huts out down in the base area? Is that happening again this year?
Yeah, so last year we built 6 little base cabins that people could rent out as their own little private base area. We moved 2 up to the Valley House. They'll be up by the new Wonder Bar, and then 2 by Bravo, and then 2 underneath the brand new deck at Mount Ellen, which is doubled in size. It's pretty exciting over there.
Yeah, well, so could you talk a little bit more about Mount Ellen? It's really exciting. The Vermont Adaptive building is going up over there, and it's getting close to finishing up, and it's really changing the face of what's going on at Mount Ellen, and it's a pretty exciting thing. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this summer we embarked on a program with Vermont Adaptive to help them build their new facility to be the sort of the anchor for them in the middle of central Vermont, where they can do year-round recreation. It's a purpose-built building with, they did a really great job sort of designing it and coming up with how it's going to specifically work for their needs and their clients. So that part of it's great. The benefit for Sugarbush and what we sort of pitched in on was adding onto the deck and sort of making sure that it's going to all of the customers that come to Mount Ellen can enjoy some of the benefit of this. So we added onto the deck, changed a lot of the drainage around the base area. There's an elevator that goes from the ground floor all the way up to the top floor. There's bathrooms on the bar level and on the cafeteria level. Opened up the building to the south side. We're working with a design group out of Burlington to really give the base area or the base lodge a bit of a facelift. So new carpet, new paint, new lighting scheme for the whole area. So it's really exciting. And every week when I stop over there, it is just awesome to see it.
Well, I never thought I'd live to see long enough to see an elevator at the Mount Ellen Base Lodge and an elevator in the Mad River Glen Base Box. And it's
absolutely
just for me to become a senior citizen. So this is perfect. Thank you, guys. With all the work that's been done up at the mountain, over the past year or 2 up at Mad River Glen, speaking of the elevator going up there and the new bathrooms and just everything that was happened. Can you speak a little bit about the impact of the capital campaign, Matt, and what that's meant for Mad River? And the place looks great up there. And the other question is Mad River Glen viable long-term without the philanthropic giving? Because that was, obviously what paid for all of that.
Certainly. I'd say that without a doubt, the capital campaign was invaluable to Mad River, and Mad River and its skiers and shareholders will feel the benefit of that campaign for years and years to come. It's enabled us, most recently, like as you mentioned, to do that huge capital project in the base area and overhaul the base box, build a completely new patrol building. And we're really excited to bring those online fully this year and really enjoy the benefits of that. On top of that, it's also got us a new to us groomer this year. Our snowmaking upgrades over the past 4 or 5 years have been almost solely in part due to that capital campaign. We've got some lift upgrades coming to the Birdland chairlift, and just all the mountain work that has really enabled us to ski on less and less snow, depending on how it comes down, and continue to manage the mountain in such a way that we can be far more consistent than we ever have. And it's so across the board, from our operational decisions to our facilities, the capital campaign has been hugely important to us. And I can't thank all the donors enough. As far as viability, it's the cooperative board had made a decision prior to me, actually, when this capital campaign started, that really there are three legs to the Mad River stool. And they are varying lengths, so you don't really sit evenly. But there's the operating end of things, which is what I control, and my staff. And then there is our share sales, and the proceeds that come in from that. And there is giving, and the capital campaign in establishing that culture of philanthropy. It really started, as you fully well know, and most people in the Valley, with the single chair renovation in 2007. The capital campaign was the next big thing from that. But in conjunction with other organizations like the Stark Mountain Foundation, that culture of giving and philanthropy in Mad River is something that will be part of our planning going forward. It's certainly not as big of a leg of the stool as our operating and otherwise, but it will have a place, and it enables us to be what Mad River is. We still have to make hopefully very smart decisions on the operating end, and get lucky here and there with the weather and the timing of storms, et cetera. But it is going to be part of it.
That's great, Matt. And one of the things that came out of that in last year with the pandemic, and I don't know if it was a pandemic thing or whether it was a part of the plan anyway, was the snack shack out in the base area. One of the questions I got, which made me laugh, was that's coming back again this year, right?
That's correct. It's one of the other positives from COVID was, unfortunately, due to the cost of goods, I can't say it was wholly built with funds from grants due to COVID, but it was a big chunk of it. So yeah, we're looking forward to having the snack shack back. That'll operate to start weekends and holidays. As we move into spring, we'll expand operations there. We are going back to having breakfast in the base box. So we all need our Egg McMads and our pancakes. Mary's moving up to the bird cage for those that know her behind the grill. So we're still working on exactly who will be back behind the grill for breakfast, but it'll be open starting at 10 for lunch through the early afternoon.
That's great. And going back to the question that I asked John about, operational changes that were made for COVID reasons that might be going forward. Are there other things? I know that, the ticket scanning is going to be going forward again. I mean, are there other operational things that were eye-opening to you that said, man, let's keep doing this?
Well, the limited pass and ticketing model, I think, is by far the biggest thing overall, right, as far as how we operate. Ticket scanning is here to stay. COVID forced us into that. It's on the operating end, it provides an invaluable amount of knowledge, and there's other good benefits for that as well. It certainly adds a level of technology that's not usually Mad River's forte, but when we're looking at, I let my accounting department know that Sugarbush is sticking with the no cash policy, and they were jealous and angry with me. But we are going back to allowing cash. One of our big things last year that we heard from a lot of parents was, not being able to give their kids $20 to get lunch and 3 orders of fries, a candy bar, and a Coke. Was
for $20 you can get all that stuff, Matt? I got a check your accounting department.
So we are going to go with cash again this year. I think I can see that going away. And the other big thing I think we learned that we had already started doing was our dynamic pricing and our selling tickets online. If there are tickets available, you will be able to buy them at the ticket window, but the vast majority of our ticket sales will be done online, and that's where we'll be focusing our energy.
That brings up a question that I know has changed a lot over the years from the time I was at Mad River, at the very beginning until when I left, and I know it's changed an awful lot in the last couple of years. Is what percentage, if you guys don't mind answering this, is what percentage of your ticket revenue is passes versus day tickets?
I'm doing the math. This year it'll be interesting. I don't know. Our pass sales over the past 3 years have made such a huge jump compared to Mad River norms and averages over the years that it's a different dynamic. We also changed up our Mad Card offering into a non-transferable one-person card, which changes things up pretty drastically. So we're moving more towards a 2/3 pass to ticket ratio, if not more. Quite frankly, we'll see how this winter goes.
John?
We're still more pass than day tickets. You know, that's always been our case here. You know, I wouldn't say it's, you know, 60-40, but we're definitely higher pass visits. And much like, you know, what Matt said, we are also only doing tickets online. So if you're going to be renting or getting a day ticket for Sugarbush or redeeming a friends and family discount or whatever it is, it's going to need to be done on the web and then picked up at the pickup boxes, which, you know, has really been, again, it's a quick, good COVID learning that we saw, that it's an easy transaction. You scan your phone, your ticket drops out and you go.
No, well, we got an interesting question from the Peanut Gallery, John. Where people are wondering if you'll be taking Bitcoin this year.
If they can get Bitcoin on their credit card, sure.
No, that's good. You know, another question for you, John, is how is Altera addressing the future at Sugarbush? They mentioned that it didn't seem like there has been a clear plan articulated up to this point. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, for the last couple of weeks, we've been working with the SE group on sort of updating our master development plan that we have with the U.S. Forest Service, and that sort of encompasses the entire resort. Part of that has been spurred on by sort of, you know, that's a thing that needs to be done before we can do much more development. So we're getting that in order to then, you know, propose other things. We had the development group out from Altera, where they were here 2 weeks ago, and we've had the entire leadership team is out here, and you know, everyone has been really excited when they've gotten here, when they see what the Sugarbush looks like, even though it was summer. So there's some excitement about what we could do next, and you know, what we want to do is make sure we plan it properly, vision the resort build out piece, you know, so that it matches what we want to be as Sugarbush, and really focus on the customer experience. That's the sort of things that we've submitted, and we'll see how it goes.
So are there plans for new lifts or replacement of aging lifts? Is there priority?
Absolutely. You know, nothing that we're ready to announce for right now, but you know, with the addition, so we've spent, you know, the Mount Ellen improvements in the base lodge over there, and when you include North Star and dredging the pond and sort of all of the stuff that have been spent at Mount Ellen, it's almost, well, here's a good example. We are getting the same capital allotment as Mammoth right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing pretty well, you know, trying to shore up our services. You know, I think, you know, when we dredged the pond, we bought a new winch cat. You know, we actually launched a new website app. We added more webcams, which I was supposed to get in February, but who knew shipping was going to be a thing this year. So we finally got the webcams, and then the mounts for the cameras never showed up. So those got up. And if you look on the website, you'll be able to see we've added some really nice high resolution cameras up on the mountain. So those are sort of the ancillary things that are sort of exciting. But, you know, we do have some master development plan things out there, including an employee village that we're trying to work on to add employee housing. I think that this morning I mentioned that we changed the Sugarbush Inns. Instead of renting out to the visitors, we're actually renting it out to our employees. And so they're going to be, the Sugarbush Inn is off property. So to backfill that, we were able to purchase the Sugar Lodge. So we were really excited to be able to add that to the lodging portfolio for us, sort of try to fill in some.
Yeah, that was one of the other questions that we got as well, was about the purchase of the Sugar Lodge, and people were curious if there was any changes planned and how that kind of fits into Sugarbush's overall business plan.
Yeah, so we're really trying to operate that as a year-round lodging establishment. It being a little bit smaller and easier to manage than the 44 room or 42 rooms at the Sugarbush Inn. All of the rooms at the Sugar Lodge have air conditioning. There's a swimming pool. It's a little bit more attractive in the summer for us to open that up. So we're excited to have that open all the time, and that's the plan with it.
That's great. And what's the situation in regard to the needs for snowmaking water supply now at Sugarbush and for the future? Is that a need there?
So the supply is what it is. You know, we have sort of an unlimited withdrawal out of the Mad River as long as we meet the minimum flow. So we are not like set at, you can only take 200 million gallons or 5 gallons, whatever it might be. As long as we meet the minimum flow, we're allowed to take as much as we want. The issue we run into for Lincoln Peak is the ability to pump it from the base of the valley up to the top of the mountain. So we do have some ambitious things that new snowmaking ponds for storage, increased pumping capacity, things like that we're really trying to work through. And again, master plan it out so that we're doing the right things, building it once, not continuing to redo it. And then at Mount Ellen, we do have, again, everything's the minimum flow is what is our restriction. We just don't have the storage at Mount Ellen. So we've been trying to explore other locations where we can again put some storage to hold water so we can pump more up the mountain.
Yeah, so the future was on a lot of people's minds. And, one of the questions we got for Mad River was, what's the plan for the 20th hole property? And if anything, Matt, and if people don't know that's the area in between the Mad River Barn and Mad River Glen, where I've heard there's some skiing there. I don't know.
Yeah, so currently there is no plan on the management side at Mad River, or really, with that. So it's certainly an opportunity that can present itself, and if it does, we'll have discussions. I think it's certainly something. Really, our goal is to preserve kind of that out of bounds type skiing field that may or may not be over there, as it is right now. So nothing nearly concrete in the works. We're always willing to have discussions, and as they come up, we'll be having them.
Yeah, as we start talking about the future, one of the things it was kind of I had a question about was, what are the plans? I mean, if you're looking at the future of things with climate change, and obviously that's something that you guys are thinking about. Do you have any thoughts on it at all, and like kind of where it's going, and maybe if the plans are, is there any effort to going with the ski areas get at some point being able to say they were carbon neutral? Anything in that regard?
Well, I'd say on the Mad River end, one of the big things that the cooperative board of trustees is working on now is updating our strategic plan. So they're deep in that process now and getting feedback from shareholders and stakeholders. And that is a document that will guide us, well into the future. And it's certainly a big part of that is addressing climate change and Mad River's answer to it. So I don't want to put the cart before the horse there. Mm-hmm. Let that process play out. As far as kind of on carbon neutral or otherwise, I mean, I think certainly, becoming more efficient, getting off of fossil fuels, looking at net metering solar options or solar options themselves are things that we are certainly doing. Either currently doing now. We made some really big strides as part of our capital project last summer. The base box went through a deep energy retrofit with Efficiency Vermont. The new ski patrol building is, I don't know how many times more efficient than the old one, but basically take an 1800s barn and then a 2021 house, and you can imagine the difference between the two. And our energy usage is way down there. So I think I'd imagine solar panels in and around or on Mad River is something we'll certainly be looking at, and you'll see before too long. And we have already partnered with Mahirons and a net meter an agreement with them to be buying solar out of a farm in Vermont, which has worked out really well. So those are things that are always on our mind.
John?
Yeah, so we've been on the solar kick for a while now. We can say that all of the energy used at Mount Ellen is produced by solar. When you look at our it's on my desk, you look at our annual power consumption, and you look at what we're producing in solar. We were able to also add a solar field last year in our lot F for employee, the lower parking lot. So, that's something that we continue to do. We have tapped out on to be able to net meter anything. So anything else we could do really is just an offset locally. So it would have to be in-house. And, we looked for it to try and do on the Vermont Adaptive Edition, but we couldn't do it regulatorily. So we're trying to see any options we can and sort of improve the building envelope we're into. And much like Matt has found with his new buildings, who thought any of our ski area buildings would ever need an actual air exchange? as opposed to the wind blowing through them automatically. So it's really great to sort of see that going into Mount Ellen. And I'm sure, you're seeing the benefits in your new buildings as well.
So that's great. It's nice to hear that you guys are obviously thinking about that, and I know it's an important issue, and it's definitely top of mind. Just a reminder to our viewers that are watching here, if you have any questions that you want to ask based on our conversation so far, please put them into the chat. One of the things I wanted to ask about also is, as in my role at the chamber, and talking to local businesses, obviously labor is an issue, and wondering how that is going for you guys and what's happening. I heard you can get jobs up at the ski area if you're looking.
I heard that was the only way to get a pass at Mad River, was to get a job there.
We've got the same problems, headaches that other businesses have. I think both ski areas have a very passionate family atmosphere when it comes to staff and employees, which helps keep them coming back and being part of that group and that family. But I quite frankly had a fairly sobering managers meeting today, and we've got some holes to fill. And we'll look for creative ways to do that. And certainly anybody on this call or listening is looking for a way to spend a couple days a week and work for a ski area. I know John and I could certainly use the help.
Yeah, and we're in the same boat. Obviously, there's some areas that need to be filled. We were able to contract with some J1s and H2Bs to get some foreign workers in as well. But all summer long, we've been sort of rolling out additional benefits to our employees, starting with the $15 an hour minimum wage for the resort. And then, most recently, the employee housing at the Sugarbush Inn was the last thing we just talked about for the month of November. So we'll be rolling one more out in December, and then hopefully we'll be on to normal ski season. But we're a little over 70% filled with jobs have been accepted. What's a little bit, I think all businesses are seeing this, is even though someone accepts a job, they don't actually show up on their first day of work. So, we're experiencing that just like everybody else. But right now, we've had an uptick in applications, and we're excited about, getting closer to being 100% loaded up with employees.
Yeah. Do you feel like is the housing issue the biggest factor, or do you think it's something else around here?
I think it's one of the biggest factors we're seeing is that, I know that when I came to work at Sugarbush, there was employee housing that was available that helped out, but also you could actually rent a seasonal rental. Well, you could buy a condo for 20 grand at that time. So, there were things that were a lot more affordable. And so we are seeing a lot more of our seasonal workforce coming from Burlington because they can't find any lodging in the Valley. So it does make it a little more difficult.
Do you foresee any curtailment of services due to staffing shortages at this point? That's aimed for both of you.
I'd say not planning on it.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. I think, we're not planning on any staffing or changing our operating model. I will say we will probably be slimming down our menus. We're also seeing some major issues with food supply, be able to get deliveries, and that's across the board for all restaurants and lodges.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't buy tequila in the Valley for a little while. That was it was a tough go for a little while.
Okay, now it's getting serious.
Exactly.
One of the questions we've got from one of our viewers was there was a rumor that Mount Ellen might not be open during the week. Is there any validity to that?
Not that I've heard. No, no. We're still planning on opening the weekend before Christmas. We're investing major dollars over there, and really excited about what we're offering and elevating the experience on that side.
Great. We got another question for you, Sean. Folks want to know how the inns and lodges are doing in terms of staffing.
We're like the resorts, still finding it tough to fill some spots, and housing is definitely probably the key factor. I know a lot of the lodging places they're getting the applications, but not showing up on the first day of work sounds familiar for a lot of to a lot of them, or they're just kind of, it's hard to fill those couple spots, definitely. And so I think the restaurants are the same way. Everybody just kind of bear with them. They're still short staffed. They're trying their hardest to be open every day, and so it's still a difficult thing for the inns and lodges as well, though.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, again, I'm noticing it in, at the chamber and talking to my colleagues around the state and around the region as well, is that we are not alone in this. This is not something that is a matter of a valley problem. This is a problem that's completely and totally national. And it's kind of hard to figure out. I think, it's a lot of us are really scratching our heads like, what happened to everybody? And it's an interesting thing, and how quickly the economy is really just retrenched and has really changed. And it's, John and Matt, I think, are in a really tough situation, like a lot of people running businesses around here, that, things are changing. You don't know how much it's changing and what to do, and being really flexible and being able to roll with the punches is super important. So you guys have really proven that you've been able to do that last year. I mean, I thought it was remarkable, for my years in the ski business, and I was so thankful not to be working in it last year, and to be going up there as a customer. I was so impressed at both ski areas, the way you guys handled it, and the way your staffs handled it, and with a lot of grace and class and decency and caring. And it's really it's a great thing. So I really applaud you for that, and I know you'll keep things going. We got another question that came in. Will Allen's Lodge and Walt's Pub go back to pre-pandemic operations, John?
Absolutely. I was trying to remember the date that we did this thing last year, and I think it was before we actually had received the guidance from the state on our restrictions. So we had sort of been working with them all summer long and sort of thought we were going down a path, and then at the 11th hour got a little curveball. So as of right now, there are no restrictions on inside gatherings or capacity restrictions, and we do expect to open those in similar fashion as they've been opened in the past.
Great, and you'll be able to do the snowcat based stuff like the Allen's Lodge dinners and that kind of thing.
Or just on a Saturday, stop in and get a beer and a hot dog.
Yep, there you go. That's great. I don't see any other questions coming in. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to add or mention?
I would just mention that the golf team actually had a record year again this year. So it was really good to see, and weddings really started to really return. I can't remember the exact number of weddings we had this summer, but I believe we are almost booked for all of next summer as well. So there's definitely some high demand for getting back up into Vermont, and we're excited to get the visitors up here and get back to doing what we love.
Oh, that's great. One more question came in. It says, have local businesses besides Sugarbush changed their wage structure? I mean, I can answer that from the chamber perspective, because I'm talking to businesses, and the answer is hell yeah. And Matt, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I wouldn't call, we didn't do a wholesale change of our wage structure, but we did a review this summer, especially after John came out with, Sugarbush made their adjustment to see where we actually were at, because I had an idea, but I hadn't really looked at it in about a year. So we were close to that, and we're very, very close to that $15 an hour minimum wage. There's some departments that, basically employee not quite there, but yeah, we are certainly have had to I wouldn't call it creep. It's more of a leap, jump, in certain wages, and to some degree across the board. So yeah, we've certainly changed it.
That's great. So anything else you want to add, Matt?
Yeah, I think I think one of the things we're talking a lot amongst staff, and as we bring people on, is I think demand I think people are looking to get out and go skiing, and I think they're looking to come back to Vermont. I can't count the number of people I've talked to that skied the New York ski areas last year exclusively because they couldn't cross the border and don't want to do that anymore. They've had enough of Gore. Not to say Gore is a bad ski area, but they want to come back. So I think, looking forward to welcoming them back. I think they want to be back and come back to the Valley and enjoy Vermont. So I think that's going to be a big part of what we all feel across all the businesses in the Valley and we as residents as well. And finally, I think I'd say, once again, we made the plea a couple of times last year and want to continue to make it that, as people come up and visit the ski areas or any business, have some patience, understand that it's still a challenging environment. Burnout among staff is incredibly real when it comes to asking people to put your mask up or do the other things that are required or needed to keep us safe. Understand what that, what that does to people over time and make sure, everybody should enjoy the experience, whether you're working, skiing, walking around. We can all be in this together and keep it Happy Valley. And I think the Valley is in a really good spot between all three of our ski areas to take advantage of what we've got. And I'm looking forward to it.
So Eric, I would like to mention that we'll be jointly hosting the Big Kicker event on November 20th.
Yep.
It'll be at Lincoln Peak. That's with sponsored by Lawson's. Mad River and Sugarbush come together to sort of launch winter and get people excited about it. And so that's sort of our first public event of the year for the winter season. Looking forward to getting the teams together and having fun that night.
Yeah, no,
outside, and it's an outside event.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you brought that up because that maybe was my idea a while back. And the whole idea of that from the very beginning was to celebrate and kick off the ski season as a community for our local residents and our second homeowners. And I'm really glad to see that it's still happening. And, I think it really typifies what this community is all about with our ski areas and that, we have two very distinct ski experiences. We have Sugarbush, and the big resort experience that they have and, corporately owned and all of that. But they have not lost their, their individuality, and there's definitely a real culture to the place. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have the Mad River Glen experience, which is unlike any other in the country. And to have you guys, be able to work together so closely. And I've experienced that over the years myself and how close you guys are with, the local business community here in town. It's a really good thing. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to meet with the community and with the chamber and the local business community as well. And wish you guys a very good ski season. And I'll be sure to see you up on the hill real soon.
Good. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, take care, guys.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye. Thanks everyone for watching. Really appreciate it. And again, as Matt said, let's be supportive of the staff up at Mad River and up at Sugarbush and all our local businesses as you're around this year. So we'll see you all up on the hill. Take care.
Thanks.